This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For January 5th, 2024, and I just noticed it says 2023 on my sheet. 2024, it's the future. This is the best sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. Broadcasting live to tape from coast to coast, easternmost and westernmost, northernmost and southernmost, gate post to hitching post. I'm your local host who can boast the most milquetoast and utmost humility. I'm Chris Dechter, and it's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure. And let's say hello. Change that one. Let's say hello to today's august panel of AV SuperFriends. Today I'm joined by an interactive metrics executive from Kansas City, Jamie Reinhardt.
Hello.
A global tactics developer from Corvallis, Oregon, Marc Kolowazinski.
Hello.
A central intranet officer from Greensboro, North Carolina, Larry Darling.
Howdy.
A dynamics quality designer from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Justin Rexing.
Very quality.
And special guest, a future intranet associate from Los Angeles, California, our good friend Joe Way.
Call me a FIA.
FIA. Yeah, sometimes these do make cool acronyms.
I'm FIA.
Wait, what was mine? Mine's almost...
Larry, you're a CIO.
Oh, hey.
I've always wanted to be that.
There you go.
DQD.
You're the...
I don't know.
That's not what it means. All right. Well, on today's show, we're going to discuss the joys and challenges of working with integrators and our favorite or least favorite Christmas gifts, and we'll explain that in a minute. But first, we have a button to push now.
Push it.
Let's do... You want to do it?
No,
Let's do the news.
I can't do it.
There. It's exciting now.
That was like 2 years in the making. We need to put that thing together. Anyway, go ahead.
Did you record that off of a record player?
I held a cassette
you
player.
open the show with best sounding podcast and higher, and it
just goes
literally,
downhill.
and then you get that. Like
I recorded that using a tape player holding up to the TV speaker. It's fine.
You definitely recorded that off of a television that used to also double as your furniture, right? And you had to put the doilies on top of it.
It's the hi-fi, Joe. It's part of the hi-fi.
I made off the radio. my song.
Hey, it was free.
Spared no budget. Our
free.
budget is unlimited for assets for this show. As you can hear.
You got every penny's worth
Yes,
on
we
that.
did.
It was free and he paid too much.
I mean, we could have just done nothing, which might have been better.
Which is what we've been doing.
How far off is Justin to his audio and video now?
Probably way
It's
off.
like coming in like an hour late. Like,
you know what? Let's hit that drop again, Chris, so we can actually go into the news.
You want to hit it again?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Future news.
Listen to that.
All right.
Still sounds bad.
All right. So today's news article, link is in the notes, is from the Harvard Business Review. And the title is Research the Growing Inequality of Who Gets to Work from Home. And this has like 27 authors on it. Mm-hmm. And the
Are there
long
real
and
authors, though? I don't know.
It was a 5-paragraph report with 27 authors.
It is quite a lot of people for the amount of text on here. But the consensus being is as more and more people are working from home and people are specifically looking for jobs to work from home, that's an added bonus to some. But it doesn't map equally across the workforce. And what they found is those who are able to work from home generally are the higher level, or I guess higher specialization or higher pay employees.
Definitely higher pay.
Yes. Well, and we were doing a quick poll here by looking at the screen earlier before the show, and 50% of us on this call right now are currently at home. So
I'm on vacation.
Those of us who are at work apparently not paid as well.
I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah, but it doesn't
home.
matter. I've never seen you at work.
I'm just
I'm
saying.
sure you say you work at Western. I've never seen you there.
No.
It's all a lie. Just so I can hang out with
true.
you all. Just so I can be a part of the higher ed AV media group or whatever the hell we call ourselves. I just lie.
Not sure.
But not
sure
on
that
this
even
show.
exists
This is
anymore.
off the rails. This one, it's on
Yeah.
topic. It's there. This one, this is your own thing.
Just a made up.
You get to crash this train
I'm actually
all you want.
a little bit of AR also. I'm like actually not real.
You
No.
just have a
We would
virtual
believe
background
that
of
the
your
way
house.
yeah. Are you sure you're in AV? Do we need to call an
Very
integrator?
questionable.
Did you bring? Wait, did you bring this in house?
This experience is
boy.
brought in house.
Well, getting to this article, I read this whole thing multiple times for some strange reason because I've seen it posted on various channels. And between the lines of this article, there's this unspoken thing that we're battling even here. I don't know. I'll ask the panel here if you're battling it too. Do you have a subsect of employees that are truly remote that need special enablement by your on-prem workers?
No.
Like, oh, hey, I'm not in. Can you just go turn this thing on for me? Or okay, can you go do this or that? They're not physically there. So you spend your time having to go coddle to like their needs to keep them busy at home. Do any of you experience anything similar to that?
Yeah, I'll just jump in and take over the show. Thank you for having me on.
Glad to have you here. Go ahead.
We have a mute button here. We can click.
The thing when I was at SC, I had Lex Evans who lived in Louisiana, right, and she was remote. She oversaw the digital signage and marketing stuff, and she had her own student workers. So if one of the players would go out, they would do it, and yes, she would need support, but not 99% of her role could be done sufficiently with no real support needed on-prem. She would just assign as needed. But it is tough when you have the result is something physical and it's impacting people on campus, right? But that's the whole point of the article is it's those of us who are in management levels, right? That we're not the boots on the ground people, and then can do that and then just be the jerks at home telling other people to get to classrooms.
And I would argue that if that person was even in the office and they had those student workers, they would probably still send the student workers out to do that work, and they would still be in the office in that scenario.
Absolutely.
See, I'm in that. My role is technically in that position, though. Like, I can work from home, but my team can't. And because my team can't, I don't feel like it puts me in a position to where I can, in good faith, work from home. I need to be here to support my team, to make them feel like they're part of the bigger group. And so even though I'm allowed to, you always see this brick wall on the backside of me in these videos, because I just, something about the manager not being there, interacting, supporting, being there with the team just doesn't sit right with me.
And I, having hopped from one to the other, right, in this calendar year, I agree, Larry. I still, I always kind of held the premise of, if I'm driving it, because I live over an hour away from work, right? So if I drive in and all I'm going to do is sit in front of my computer screen and not interact with another person all day long, then I can do that from home, right? But the moment that a project or a meeting, something where I felt like I should be there, or an installation or even advanced troubleshooting, if I needed to go in this afternoon, like this morning I was on campus, I came home just for the recording, right? But that's where I drew the line. And now, that said, let's go back to the point of this, is that once you hit a certain pay scale and a responsibility scale, then you're allowed to work from home. When you're just an everyday tech, you don't get that luxury. Now that I have moved into the manager role, now I am a manager of managers, so I do have people that are deploying the services all the time. But I do make it a more conscientious effort to be more available to the working staff to show them that, yeah, I can work from home, but I also care enough to come in here and be a part of your lives too, because I'm asking you to do me favors. So let's go back to that point, like with Lex and what Joe was saying earlier. When I do call and say, hey, I'm at home, will you go restart my computer? Or will you go put an IP address in that machine so that I can actually do this part of the job? It's a little bit easier because some other day I've been there. But I do agree with the article on the fact that there is a breaking point of, and I think there's some lower skill, lower level jobs that, again, if all you're going to do is sit in a chair and look at the same computer screen, does it matter if I'm at home or does it matter if I'm on-prem. Now, if you have to interact with things, whether that's a physical thing, a person thing, a meeting thing, right, then that's different. But there's some give and flow there. But obviously, the more money,
it goes into
the more money, the more flexibility.
Right. It says, but in the takeaway is, it's like, how are managers kind of dealing with this, right? Because I do get the sense there is this like class stratification happening where even in pure IT, when I'm not even going to get into the AV, IT, whatever it is, in the purest form, you're saying, yes, this subset of jobs, we're going to say it can be done from anywhere. And all the labor-ish, on-prem, boots on the ground stuff, we're going to say that's really more akin to like, I don't know, you call it wherever you want, but that's like less skilled labor at some level, and you're seeing this pay gap, right? It still has institutional impact. It is still 100% needed for the livelihood of the institution or whatever organization. Why is this big disparity? If technology is technology, why are we creating this gap? Because it does create a have and have not. And it's not so much about the work. It's the quality of life around the work that I think that gets missed. I don't have to go sit in traffic. I don't have to pay for a parking pass. I don't have to buy the gas. I don't know that. Oh, and you're going to pay that person more money to sit at home while I'm here turning things on, putting IP addresses in for Jamie, going and making sure all this stuff's on and pushing all this gear around, doing the labor piece. And yet I'm going to make less money. Like, arguably, I'm doing more physical stuff, not getting any of the other stuff. But so it creates this weird divide. I'm seeing it pop up anywhere. And so what does that mean to those that are in manager's position? How are you dealing with that?
I think that those people need to have a self-responsibility. And that's really a self-awareness. So if I'm at home working, I'm doing design work. I'm doing stuff that I need to be doing. If my team needs me, this is exactly what Jamie was saying. And Jamie's on point with this. And every situation's different. I think this article is very black and white. And I think as you describe each scenario and then you see the variables, each one might make sense in its own little, cylinder or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, so it's, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, see, Mark, you had one thing that was missing out of that. And it's that when you are an individual contributor, you are normally dealing with things. When you're in management, you are dealing with people, right? And that's the differentiator. And that is a big skill set difference, right? So when you said, well, technology is technology, no, it's not. Our roles are different. Management is a very specific thing, right? It just happens to be the people we are leading are in technology, and we came through that to get to the position we're at. And that's and so I could actually make the argument that I can lead people better by not being in the office. I mean, I do go in. If I have a half days for free,
it forces you to be very intentional about everything you're doing.
But I'm not going to go in unless I can spend 2 or 3 hours with the team. And I don't even know that they're free to spend that time with me. I mean, I've gone in, had half a day, and they're like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm too busy doing something. Get out of here, Joe. And I actually make it worse for them, right? And so I can be more effective from my sitting at my own desk here at home on Slack and communicating and connecting dots and making sure they're getting the resources they need to be successful, right? As opposed to being in their way. And I could even make an argument, we could make, that it's actually better. I mean, have you heard that LA has traffic? Like, by not getting on the freeway, I'm helping the environment. I'm helping our school save money by not turning on the lights in my office, right? There's things that I can actually be more responsible for. I know I'm searching. I'm searching for ways that I can justify being but in fact, as Jamie said, you're an hour away. Mine's 2 hours, right? I live 50 miles away, and I can sit. Now, think of how much more I can do in that 4 hours a day, going back and forth. Than going, and not having to go back and forth.
But right? do you have like a cadence of contact and communication, or are you like all the other people at home that just randomly put requests into Teams and hope that people that are out there busy have to stop what they're doing and you get an immediate response? Like, do you value that the on-prem workers are doing that work? And guess what? They're not sitting at their desk waiting for you to ask for some petty thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have a set cadence. We have our certain meetings, and then I trust them to work, right? And I trust their leaders to report to me, and I meet with them more often, right? And they're the ones that might be more hybrid-y, right? And be on a few days a week and then home a few days a week. So I think it actually is a better situation. And because I only got this link when it was dropped in here and I didn't read the article, I do think that there is a point to it. That there is a point to having leadership not be in the office. And I think it's a good thing. And I'm not just saying that because I get that ability. I actually believe I can be more effective. And I'm much different. Like, I've always prided myself on having very close teams. People who've seen my teams, and especially we are very close, right? We're very connected. And I even thought, how can I do this without everybody here at home? Like, I remember, or not at home. I mean, in the office, I got rid of all the cubicles and did the open office look, and let's get everybody in, and we're going to all it really was difficult to that transition. Because I felt like, Larry, almost like you were saying, is like I was abandoning them. Yeah, you guys stay back here and I'm going to, stay at home. But after a while, I realized I really could be more effective by not being in their way.
But do you think people who are in those primary workshops, I'll give it to you, Larry, that do communicate enough to show empathy for those who do not have the opportunity? Because I think that's where things fall apart.
Exactly. That's that self-awareness thing. Like, every situation's different. So if your team, like Larry may be about to say, if your team needs buy-in,
you're not guessing what Larry's going to say.
To get their buy-in, you have to be there. Then that's what Larry has to do to get their buy-in, right? Go ahead, Larry.
Wait, I want to guess what Larry's going to say. What Larry's going to say, go ahead.
Wait, I was
hot dogs, hamburgers,
wieners.
No, that's
not this time.
Okay.
The only thing I was going to say is, like, we've talked a lot about the leadership versus the actual workers in the field kind of thing, and we've done that a little bit. How about the people who are dealing with in the same tier, like the network design architects versus the AV design architects? Like, and I know Justin hates that word, but I used it.
No, I like that.
Justin's an engineer.
You like that better than engineer?
Is the one I don't agree with.
I was trying to avoid one of them for you.
Different show.
We're all engineers. It was a good show.
But
but we're all engineers. You want to sound important, just add engineer to your name.
You don't have an engineer unless you have a stamp. Moving on.
You gotta have the stamp. It's a stamp.
Okay. Yep. Moving on.
I'll get you a stamp.
I think that's where some of this is going to come from. Like, I've been at institutions where the instructional designers got to work from home, where the network guys, the desktop guys, every other group except for the AV guys really were allowed to work from home. And I think that's where things are going to start to get a little...
But see, even in the language when we talk about it, the lexicon, they got to work from home.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's some fictitious prize that this person gets to work from home. Why is it? And if we're going to say that is, and collectively we say, oh, you get the ability to work from home, why would one group get a benefit over another?
Because that's the way.
And it has to do with the role, but it's
that's
just
the way capitalism works.
And
some job roles get more benefits than others. It's just the way it works.
It sometimes goes back to the disparity between your level, whether it's management or just design and design architect, or not, right? So usually those folks have been around a while, or their experience has given them a higher pay rate, which allows them the option to have a more flexible location. But I know that was something that I did fight for a while there, and I do even now. Everybody gives me crap about, well, you don't ever come down here, and I'm kind of like, well, I'm more effective in giving you what you need, and they're like, oh, well, that's true. I can, and I even as management now, I try to give them the staff, even the generic, they have to be there on-prem worker bees. Like, look, I need them to train sometimes, and I need them to do these other things. I'm like, look, I don't even want you. I want you to work from home tomorrow, and I want you to do these things. Or pick one day a week where you get at lunch, you transfer to home, you have a laptop, and develop, just to kind of give them a taste. And you know what? Sometimes they come back and they're like, nah, I'll do it here. Because I go home and I jack around.
And then drive back? You want me to waste more money coming back to
But they go home and they fall into that trap that we all sometimes assume, that if you're at home, you're just jacking around.
Yeah, that's
And
the
you're not
assumption.
actually, and there's a lot of people that do that. I'm not going to.
Well, I think therein lies the rub there, is that there are people that's jacking around at home and that are not being productive, and they are sapping resources from organizations, and we have to deal with them.
I mean, but how much time, and this, see, I think that's another fallacy, because when you see people, how often do you then, the quote unquote water cooler talk? If you're at the office and you see people, we are social animals,
I hate
right?
That
we
shit.
are people.
Oh my God, I hate that. That was such a time burner for me. That's a benefit of working from home. I don't have to deal with that crap.
Yes, exactly. So when people say, "Oh, well, you're going to go do a walk, you're going to do lunch," you waste more time at the office. We would, lunches become 2 hours, right? Or chit chat, or you go, "Oh, I got only a half hour to the next meeting," so you're talking to the person
Dude,
next
my
to you. Don't get
lunches
anything
here
done.
at the house is like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I know, it's wild.
Yeah, see, so I think it's a big fallacy that people think that you do less. Now, I think it's just different. I mean, obviously, there's days where you might leave your Slack on, and you're really not sitting in front of it or whatever. I mean, not that I've never done that. I've never done that.
You can do that? Hold on.
My favorite are the people who work from home, which is fine. If their job allows them to do so, that's great. And you ask them a question. Hey, I need information on this project, or can you this billing thing needs to go through, whatever. And then it's 2 days for them to respond because they're not working from home. So for me, and I'm not a big work from home person, work from home is a quote unquote work from home, because for everybody who can make the argument that they are indeed more productive, and I think on this call we have a lot of people who are more productive working from home for all the reasons we've discussed, there's 10 times that number, if not more, who are, as Jamie so eloquently put it, just jacking around. So get to work, people.
It is hard to differentiate. And I mean, the article was interesting, but
I think it's a good conversation to keep having, especially if you're in a management role. Like, understand that it is emotional for people that are in roles where they feel like they cannot be given the opportunity to work from home or flex time, but find ways to be creative like you're doing, Jamie, and other people that have that conversation, carve it out, and build flexibility, be empathetic to everybody's needs here. There are certain jobs that will benefit from being from home, but let's face it, somebody's got to take the stuff out of the box and put it in place. Who's doing that sometimes? And
students.
It's jobs. Yeah, and it's jobs.
We might talk about that in the next segment.
Right. And so,
by the way, I do want to point out, I saw there was an article from it was a question, I think, on one of the commercial integrator Discord. I can't remember where I saw it. Somebody said, "What software are you doing for remote commissioning?" And they were all discussing what software they use to remotely connect to allow someone boots on the ground to do the work. And my reaction to that is, if you're asking that question, the response should be Microsoft Word, because I hope to hell you're filling out your resume, because you pull that shit on my campus and your company doesn't work here anymore.
As someone who
because that is some of the most nonsense.
As someone who commissions
that is some of the most nonsense bullshit.
I don't know how you do that remotely. Like, you can't do that.
Exactly.
Remotely.
That's when I read that, I was like,
and yet
how are you
they
doing
all
this?
do it. So, hey, let's talk about those fine folks after this quick commercial break here, which is going to be 1 minute and 10 seconds long. Ready? Go.
Wow.
Hey, you look like you're pretty good at hanging projector mounts. You're probably able to run up a ladder with a projector on one shoulder and spin it onto the pipe without missing a beat, right? Well, are you ready for the next level in projector mounting hardware? Then try independent amalgamated frustration mounts. Our factory kits don't line up with any of the popular projector brands. Universal mount interface? What's that? Each independent amalgamated frustration mount ships with almost all the hardware you need to fully integrate with your projector. And for an extra special treat, we'll mix metric and standard hardware and ship them loose in the box. Our anchor mounting points come pre-stripped and cross-threaded for your convenience, and none of our set screws or tension nuts will maintain their position for more than a few minutes, just long enough for you to get down off the ladder and start working on something else. Got a tough installation with a short throw or ultra short throw projector? Independent amalgamated frustration mounts are a perfect solution and will ensure your labor charges really add up. For your next project, try independent amalgamated frustration mounts. You'll hate them. And coming soon, frustration mounts for LCD monitors and TVs. I got a mute switch here. All right, so speaking of frustrations, integrators. We love integrators. All right, so dang it, what show was it? Was it?
I don't know the number.
'Episode 70?
78. What color was your Volvo?
Yeah.
Was it just
What
78?
color was
Really?
your what? What'd you just say?
What color is your Volvo? That was the title of the
Yeah.
episode.
I did not hear
Amy
Volvo.
heard. Yeah.
We
It
all
was
heard
more
Jamie.
biological. We'll put it that way.
Jesus Christ.
Mulva?
That wasn't involved.
All right.
Wow.
So we were talking around the challenges of working with some integrators.
We had a goal for that.
We were
didn't
talking
get
around
there.
a lot.
We didn't get anywhere near
We
it.
talked about
we
a
didn't
lot
get
of crap.
close. We talked around a lot of crap.
Not actually, yeah.
And Joe listened to that episode and said, "These guys are full of crap." We'll put his
on here.
yeah, bunch of jerks. So we'll put his tweet here.
He
but
disagreed with
I'll quote him.
every one of our points.
Yeah. Joe
we
said,
weren't agreeing
I've
with
never
each other,
listened.
so-
He said, I've never listened to a podcast of my peers where I disagreed so much with almost, someone was correct, almost every single point they made. Totally worth a listen. Just don't do anything they say. And then one of your hashtags was Joe Way versus AVSF episode. So here we are.
Here we are. We made Happy New Year, everybody.
So we're still not sure what the debate is about. We're like going into this, I still don't know what we're going to talk about exactly.
Yeah. So sum up your reaction. Now that you
Okay.
have more than 140 characters, sum this thing
I
up.
thought he still had to do it in 140 characters.
All right. Well, I will. Yeah. Okay. Well, at first I was unsure whether, when I was questioned back on this, I thought, well, okay, maybe I had too many edibles. So let me re-listen to the
Can you have
episode.
too many?
Yeah, you can.
Just to
You
make
can.
sure.
You
Just to
can.
make sure.
Yes.
And you start, and as I'm listening back yesterday, and then you get, the circle in the, the circle classroom, and I'm like, no, this is all fine. And then you turn the conversation, I'm like, oh, fuckity fuck. No, I'm like, you guys are like,
What?
like, this is the only person who had a semblance of like idea of how you should do things was Justin. That was it. That was the almost. Oh, Justin, you get a pass on this. Everybody else, I'm so.
He just kept
so
saying the same thing over and over.
Do it in
Yes,
house.
And he
because
wasn't answering the
you're
question.
Right. When you're right, you just keep saying it. And so here was
I did not see it going this way.
I
did
did
not
because
either.
the logic is sound. Like, here's my point. Here's my point to all this shit.
Never in this show, as we said, Justin's right on. He gets a free pass. We're like, what? I did not see this
Like
coming.
80% of the time, I sound like a idiot redneck, but I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about here.
100% of the time, Justin.
So, if you have an internal department that is doing AV and you're one person, this seems like it's a lot to take on. But every AV department out there is trying to grow, they're trying to expand, and they're trying to train their professionalism, and they're train themselves up. So as you first start out with AV support, and this is a very generic statement across all universities, I'm sure you're targeting support is your first go at it, right? Oh, I've got to go and fix things. As they break, I got to go fix things. Then you learn a little bit, you get some training. Hey, I can start putting together some things. I could do a DSP. You start doing more training. This is years, this is years of development. And then you do maybe programming, figure out some design stuff. All of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I'm starting to get the skill set where I can build my own team and do this ourselves. And I wasn't saying don't rely on integrators. I wanted to clear this up. So at WKU, we rely on integrators for expanding our existing resources in-house, meaning we have an RFP to buy boxes and we have an RFP for labor. And when we have a capital construction project, we normally go and ask them for a quote. Hey, we're going to need like 4 people for 3 weeks during this time. Send us a quote, we'll give you a PO, buy that labor. They are working with our team side by side doing all this work. And it's really helpful to create that standard experience that we're after. We've all tried.
I think that experience, though, is not the same for everybody, though.
I know, you're right. And that's why we're going to have this conversation. And all of you have complained about consultants and integrators, and we have to go back and redo their work and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Well, you can document the shit out of everything, and you can try and try and try. How long have y'all been doing this? Like 10, 15, 20 years? Guess what? You're still fixing their problems, aren't you? There you are.
Yep. Yeah, and this is the problem. Like, this is where I was listening, and it was almost like
The network
I get
team
it,
at
but
Western
like,
does not call the local IT company for network help. I'm just saying.
Yes. Yeah, and here's the thing: one of the comments back was, "Well, we don't have the budget to hire that." Well, then next time one of your field techs quits, don't rehire a field tech and get an in-house programmer, get a project manager. Like the same thing, we might bring in. I won't have a lot of labor engineers and installers because I can only have 3 months of every year where I can really do major installation.
Right.
It's not cost effective to keep people on staff year, but I can supplement with a local integrator. And I have a project manager on my staff who basically, unless a lack of better word, babysits them. Right? Have them do the grunt work, make sure, but my programmers are pushing it and they're pushing it remotely. And they're the ones that are doing that. And we're managing the labor costs. I don't need my people doing labor. I don't need my people going up and down ladders. There's people I can pay to do that, and they can come in and I can say, send me 20 guys today. All the projectors are ready. They can go up and then you get out of here. And then I'll take it from there.
Now, what Joe just said, this is kind of where we're going to differ a little bit. So, for example, our IT department has a cabling group.
But you already got a pass.
We have a cabling.
You're done.
No. Hold on. We have our own cabling group that does AV cabling and data cabling and all low voltage cabling across campus. So when an AV project has cabling needs, we go to our internal resources. Joe probably doesn't have a cabling group. He defines that as more, I'm going to hire that piece out. That's fine. The point is that we aren't asking the integrators for a solution. We're asking them for help to provide the solution that we created.
Yep.
And I think you're both 100% right. Everybody, you're both
I think
everybody's right.
So here's the deal. You guys
all agree with that, but that's not where we're trying to go with the show.
Unicorn scenario, and I really appreciate it. It's great. There are going to be times. We are. And if you go back to the beginning of the episode, I was asking, what things can we do better to actually help the ones that we don't have all the control over? The one-offs where leadership has decided this thing's going to happen. We're not going to rely on your in-house. You guys are already busy with 15 other projects going on in flight, and we're trying to do all these things. So
we're doing that now.
What are the tips and things? And it happens. It's not a perfect role all the time. You don't have control over every aspect like you would want to. And so when you don't, we all agree we need to, but we don't all the time.
We did.
So what happens when we
lost it recently?
Those places that just can't. Those places that just can't. I mean, we had Joanna on the other day, or a couple of months ago, and had that conversation, right? And that was one of the things. Like, she has a great partner, but that brought up the question of, okay, so we all agree with this, but I do have one project where it was the buddy handshake. We're going to bring in somebody from the outside, and you're like, oh crap. So how do I force them into my way of thinking? And we kind of went off the rails. But
we know it can be a legal argument, and I know that. And yes, document, write it down, blah blah, hold accountable. I'm not anti that. That's the thing. However, the rubber is still going to meet the road at some point where you're going to be handed something that may be different than what you asked for, or they're setting out and they're doing something. You're like, that's not the way we want to do that.
It's an easy answer.
I don't want to this is not a legal Zoom podcast. I don't give a shit about the contract. That's not what this is.
Easy answer.
There's things and ways to go about it that can make our lives easier. And that's what I really wanted to explore. Like, how do you, those friction points, where are you at in those conversations? I got the easy
answer.
See, I think
don't do it. Don't say it, man. We're tired of it.
It's really easy. The first step is go through the process of convincing them, the documentation, blah, 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 go through all that. If you don't do that, do what we're about to do is fine. We don't support it. You're on your own. And if you want our support, we're going to turn into a project where we're going to re-engineer the system to where we can support it, meaning reprogramming, redo the gain structure, redo all of it that fits our needs. Yeah, that's the easy answer. You just do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that means you here's the thing. Even back to the other point. If let's say you have to have somebody, you don't have an in-house programmer, you don't have this, and you're relying on them. You still have to manage them. We still have to make sure that, like, my scope doc that I hand over when someone does a project, it's 26 pages long, all the way down, cable types, and how you're gonna, you name it. It is so detailed, and if they don't get it right, you're back. And if they don't do it, then I don't mind firing an integrator. You get one shot, and that's it. And if you don't make good, you're not getting another job again. And that's where you then start to build those relationships, because then they know the quality of work you expect. Because as the customer, that's what we have to do. So I've never go back and fix something that someone did, right? Because they're going to fix it, or they're never going to be on campus again.
That's where we got to, Joe, is we fired all of the integrators, so we have to go back and fix it. Like, we fired all of the ones regionally. We went through all of them.
So, Justin, what you're saying is your methodology is to burn all the bridges, and then out of necessity,
we have to fix their
do everything
shit.
with
So that's
internal
our
staff.
new policies. That's kind of where we are. And we're in Kentucky. We don't have a lot of... The Nashville integrators don't want to come up here. I'm just telling you.
And to me, this is less about the physical stuff. The physical stuff's the easy stuff. Like that part is the easiest stuff. To me, it's the things that don't have clear lines of documentation.
It's like the DSP.
It's those configurations where it's different, or
networking.
Like I battle a lot with the network side, right? I have to constantly fix the Wild West. We're going to do island networks. Like, no, you're fucking not. Like, we're not doing that. This is the way it actually happens. So I find a lot of integrators aren't necessarily enterprise ready. They are quick to deploy shit in homes and small businesses, but how they function on an enterprise, they're not quite mature enough to do that. And it's always a struggle. So I'm looking for tips and tricks in that domain, to be honest.
I mean, I think a lot of that too is, why are you hiring that company if they're going to do that? I mean, I listened to that, like, and they one of the examples, and I remember which one of you said it, is they put their own little switch in, and here we go, it's all running. And there was
That's
the
Justin,
example,
his little router in his lectern,
Best Buy router,
and they set up something and never even connected it to the internet outside, and all that stuff, right? And here's the thing, like, the issue actually happened, the mistake happened a long time before that, right? In just even selecting them and making sure the voice, like, there is nothing that will go on campus that will go around me, right? This is where you have to get to the highest levels of your institution to make sure that they go, hey, it doesn't matter what project comes through, it must pass through our department. It must get that stamp of approval. Easiest way, make sure that, the procurement includes a sign-off line for you for anything that has an AV company that's going out, right? That makes sure that you end up getting that say, and you can, make sure it fits your guidelines. It makes sure whatever, right? And whatever the project, even for those one, I mean, it's, if you're doing classrooms all day and you automatically, all of a sudden you get a stadium, right? Are you going to source that out? Of course you're going to source it out, but you can still make sure you're the sign.
Well, we're already burned that bridge.
Maybe not. Okay.
Like, seriously, like, we're having consultants getting fired. I'm like, okay, I guess my dumb ass is going to do this now, and we're having to do this. We're having to.
So, Joe, one item there that you kind of glossed over, and it is important, and I'm curious if you may have not run into it in your short tenure so far at UCLA, being a public school. A lot of the decisions on choosing or hiring the integrator comes down solely to one thing: lowest price. And so, for example, I can speak from different institutions. At IU, we had a whole process for reviewing, and price was a huge part of it. But if we were able to make appropriate justifications, we could say, okay, even though their price was 10% lower or whatever,
or higher,
we're going to select integrator B because for whatever reason. But you had to have a huge amount of justification for that, for anything other than lowest price. Now, at Wyoming, they go on lowest price because that's how we've always done it. And I've raised this question, and to what you just said there, I've been working with procurement and making a lot of inroads on that, primarily because I'm relatively new here, about 2.5 years. Everybody in procurement is also less than 2 years, so nobody has the historical momentum of, but we've always done it this way, to the point where, while the university regulations have not yet officially changed, there are ways to kind of work within those to avoid the simple lowest bidder phenomenon, but it still happens, and you'll still get Uncle Steve's bait shop and part-time AV guy who will bid and has all the appropriate required certifications, documentation, whatever, good, bad, or otherwise, and is able to bid at the purely lowest price and win contracts that they should not have. And that's where a lot of these problems start.
Yeah, and so to speak to that, and I can speak, being on in California, we have state contracts, and in fact, we have preferred. It's almost exactly like us. It's ironic that it's actually very similar. We have pre-negotiated contracts with integrators already, and it happened to be integrators I'd already been using, which ended up being great, and that I can pick any of them with no questions asked. right? It doesn't have to go to bid. It doesn't. Now, if I want to go outside or there's special and it goes to bid, but there is a, and I did this on one thing that I did, and I sent it out for bid, and I didn't select the lowest bidder. And all I had to do was say why. And the why was, this is the only company who's done this type of job. Mm-hmm. And they had no problem with that as long as I could say, okay, why? And why didn't you use one of our pre-negotiated, and that was it. And it was no pushback because I had the, here's the, 3 or 4 bids that came in. It's the second lowest one, not the lowest, but here's the work they did at X school.
Correct.
And this is why we need to bring them in. It's going to save us, and we can entrust that. Right. And okay, fine. That was it. It was literally a form. And I would assume, and that's why I actually love being at a state school. Everything's very simple. You follow the policies will guide you all the way, as opposed to I worked at 2 private schools, before, and your budgets can move on a whim because someone has something else, whoever is sitting there, and they were both great school. I won't take it away, but at a state school, it's just policy. What's the policy? Do you have it in your budget? And, and you follow it. There you go.
Kind of what Chris was saying before, understanding fully what that policy means is very helpful, because you do not have to accept lowest bids. I don't care what your procurement team says.
Depends on the school, Justin.
It depends on the school, man.
Trust me. I've worked through these people plenty of times all over
Justin,
different
states. Justin, you've worked at one school.
I've worked as a consultant and integrator through multiple states.
Okay.
And so I've talked with these.
You've worked at one school.
Well, yes. Multiple state agencies. They're like, we have to accept lowest bid. No, you don't. Here's why. Oh, we got to talk to our lawyers about that. They come back. You're right, Justin. We don't. We have to write it into our policies this way. It's a fallacy. But you have to have the right reasons and documentation to provide that.
Yep. And also it comes from when you send that RFP out, right? How detailed are you that you can say, all the way down to the program, or the example that's been used about the DSP. This is how it's going to get done, right? And if the people can't bring, and you write it into the response isn't just send me a quote. It has to include examples of the job you've done, along with references on it. If we're just saying send me 3 quotes, well then why would the procurement department doesn't know? But if you can say give me reference and show me that you have done
it's this. How you construct the bids and the RFPs and the scopes around that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that, again, in a perfect world, in a vacuum, it works. There are capital projects that do happen that the architectural firm has contractually partnered with an integrator, with a designer, with all this stuff. And that stuff gets signed sometimes before we're ever even at the table. And yes, we would like to have been there, but we haven't trained that PM for whatever reason. It's just, we're just not there. And so everything becomes litigation, right? And we're not going to go down that road. So at a certain point, we're going to capitulate and say, okay, well, we're going to do our best effort after the fact. We're going to try to be involved where we can, but at the end of the day, those integrators, those designers, they had the get out of jail free card. They can say, oh, contractually, I don't give a shit about you.
Exactly.
I don't have to listen to you.
In that situation, and this is what's going to happen with us, because we're having that happen to us right now. Integrator doesn't give you IP addresses. They don't give you passwords. They don't give you programming, and you're forced to support it. So all you can do is unplug things. So what's your next step? Your next step is to do what? Turn into a project and redo everything yourself. And that's kind of my point.
Are you saying it's best to just take what you get and not intervene in between, and you try in hopes of better aligning this along the way?
No, you try, but when you hit the brick wall like we've always hit, you just stop trying. Because why beat your head against the wall? You're going to have to deal with it later anyway. Just redo everything that went in, and now it's supportable.
Well, and also, I mean, to that point, though, there's a point where you have to play internal politics too, right? You have to be able to get that rapport with Capital Construction, right? Who is sending, and it is very common, right? A GC will get full rights to pick the consultant, the architect, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's where you have to have your Capital Construction department, when they send out their RFP, part of it is, you must work with our internal AV team, even if you let them pick their integrator, it's the scope will come from our AV team.
And I would say 99% of the time that is how it works. It's these anomalies that pop up that PM's like, we're going to try something different to not have to bother you guys. It's like, wait, what?
That's not
I
good.
want you to bother us because we want to have them understand what's going on. They think they're being nice to us, but at the end of the day, we're being
and
punished.
I have one going right now that was done, as Marc described, kind of, for lack of a better term, under the table before I got here. So a lot of stuff was, and I've been making inroads and changing some of the stuff because that's not how the world effing works. But all the stuff was decided ahead of time. They're specking all this random stuff in there, all these things. And they're like, well, we already hired these people. They're already doing it, et cetera. And the argument that came back was, when I pointed out all the problems with it, they said, well, we used your standards document that we got from XYZ person. And I was like, oh yeah, what's the date on that? Oh, it was 2018. I'm like, that's like 2 managers ago. And you didn't even have the common courtesy.
I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. So go ahead.
They didn't have the common courtesy, even if they have an old document, to at least reach out and confirm, is this the current one? It says it's 6 years old. Nope. They just bowled right ahead and played, dumb with it. And they're still going to get their fee. And I've already got my, forced my way in there. I'm going to fix it before it all gets purchased. So that's fine. But it's just like, great. They've got paid to do nothing, and they're still going to be able to put that one on their resume and walk off with it.
But you know what, too? When you have to fix it later and you call somebody else in to do it, or you do it yourself, you figure out those billable hours and you bill it to the capital construction team. And you say, here you go. Right. And they're going to push back and they're going to laugh at you. You go, yeah, but this is the true cost of the project. And if you would have just done it to me, listen to me the first time, then we wouldn't be having this. And maybe you would have paid a little more the first time because it would have had different, but we wouldn't be in this situation. And I would just bill it right over. You call up and go, hey, what's your department code?
Because I have a collections company coming for you here.
Chris brought up my biggest fear with all of this, and I'm glad you brought this up, is the blame game after the fact. He said, she said, he said, she said. And here's what I'm getting at this. BC Hatchet just tweeted about this. He's going through it right now.
What are you dragging BC into this for?
He'll listen.
Yeah, that's not cool.
He's at Vanderbilt, and he's getting blamed because he made some suggestions to a consultant and an integrator. They implemented his suggestions wrongly or interpreted something wrongly, and they're blaming him for him trying to fix the situation. I'm kind of going through that a little bit right now. It's almost better if we just step back and not help anymore, because the more we help, the more we're going to get blamed when that programmer is trying to program something that we have no control over. And as project managers telling him, hurry up and get off that job, we're losing money. So that's my biggest fear.
Yeah, but that's why you got to take it. That's going back to your point.
That's why we have to bring it back in-house.
I don't want somebody who's just, and and if I own an integration company, I don't want my people there either, right?
Exactly.
I mean, let's be honest.
It's just conflict. There's no reason to have the conflict.
I want them out as quick as possible, right? So that's why I'm always going to own two ends of it. I'm going to own the design and programming, and I'm going to own the support side. If I can do this, any part of the middle of it, great, right? And I'm going to own the project manager, which is part of the middle side, right? Yeah. And then I'm fine contracted. So I got control all the way through. And that way, and it also during that episode too, you guys made a joke about, you're going to do everything on one program. Yes. One program for the entire campus. That's all I need. One program, right? And I know you talked about the director box, and you were right when you all said, it works better without it. It does, because I can do the entire campus in one program. You know what that means? I can configure equipment from anywhere, even my home here, because all I'm doing, as long as I know what it is and I assign it a room. And I know one of the other comments was, I don't like host it. Yes, you should. We use a great host name system, and it goes down, and everything is pushed, and it's easy to manage. And if I want to change something, it's easy to change it. Just change out that host name of the device, and it's done, right? And I think that's so easy then to have my own in-house programmer manage hundreds of spaces.
And you have your own operating culture within that.
Yeah, we don't use host names just because we don't have control of the host name itself. Those are those little micro things that differ, right?
Yeah. I think you're kind of just potato on host name or not, or IP. At the end of the day, and that's my concern with taking on some of these projects, is we have a very strong support culture. We align things and we structure our programs to be so that they feed our data systems and all that metrics gathering in a very specific way. And that we feel like we're trying to deliver this baby. Like we really want to get it integrated within our culture, and we know it's not going to look pretty And so we're trying to do the best thing we possibly can to like get that thing home safe, to get it onboarded so that we can provide that support. And we're looking at the things that are the most risk for us. We're like, man, we're not gonna be able to see that. It's gonna be an island. So we're trying to have these conversations. And luckily, so for some of these new projects, they have gone. Everything you guys have all mentioned, it's all conversation, it's all relationships, it's all building your culture out. And we are having success. But for every one of us that are gonna have success, there's probably at least a couple people listening that you're like, well, I'm not there. I'm sitting here having to take these things, and they need to build those things out. And they looked at their skill sets on the resume. It's like, I'm good at AV. I do this stuff. They didn't realize they had to be a master politician in all this thing as well, so they can actually have these conversations. And it's the unspoken skill set to actually come in here and be able to navigate.
You mean the one that gets you more pay so you can work from home?
Exactly.
It's the skill set that is the difference to bring this full circle here, right? It is that is a skill set.
It's not about like the ones and zeros and the X's and O's here. There's more nuance to that. I think we all spoke about it. It is that relationship and the other people that you're going to have to interface with to actually bring these things over the finish line.
Yes.
Do it in house.
Did we solve it?
But from home is what I heard. And if you're going to
from home,
do it. Okay, got it. Right.
Do it from
do
home.
As much as you can from home.
Well, no, and that's been one of the challenges, and I've talked about it a number of times. The challenges I get here, and I find there's 10 plus years of neglect in a team that is entirely reactionary, and that we don't know how. It's a magical thing. I don't know what this stuff does. And the minute a project started, to the point where even departments on campus knew the names of integrators. So I'm like, that you guys have lost control of this, and it's the wild, wild west, no pun intended, with stuff just randomly chosen, per project. Oh, here's a hidden device that we never even knew about, stuff behind this monitor on the wall, sort of thing. There's a lot of that, and it is an uphill battle, and it's a multi-year lift to Justin's point. Bring it all in-house. In fact, my team right now is across campus in the pharmacy school, building a classroom, soup to nuts, install, Chris, program, design, everything.
You're doing exactly what we're preaching, like live right now. The past few years, you're building nothing.
But at the same time, we have a classroom building this summer that's going to go up and have 30 plus rooms that will get farmed out. Now, we're still, all the engineering design is us, all the documentation is us, all the programming configurations, but we still have to hand off those things of like, here's how you need to configure the devices. So when we come to load our program, it works. And the first thing it doesn't run into is a 192, which means you have failed. But those are the challenges of building this from scratch. Now, luckily, I have a lot of experience I can draw from 20 plus years of this stuff on how to not do it wrong, for lack of a better term. But it's a challenge and nuanced scenario for a lot of people, and those of us who don't have multiple integrators to choose from. Well, let me rephrase. We have a limited selection. Now, Denver is only 2.5 hours away. That's fine, but driving 2.5 hours before you can start a job, or you're paying travel to have someone stay overnight, sort of thing, is an added cost for integration firms, which means they are some who just don't want to get involved in projects because at the time they're like, look, I don't want to send 4 guys up there for 3 weeks having to pay a hotel, or they're driving back and forth. And it's a different market because of physically where I am located. But these challenges are still universal, regardless of which or how detailed we're getting into it. So, and yes, we'd love to do it all in-house, but we're not 100% there yet.
And then I would also make the argument, then you just pay for the hotel. Like, tell the integrator to bill you, right? It's an added cost.
Oh, they're going to bill us that anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, and that's where you just tell your leadership, this is what, it's not your fault that they built a school 2 hours away from a major city. Right. I mean,
damn,
that's
town,
just the
why is it over here?
Kind of like how are we going to get to Oregon State? I'm looking up my flights. I'm like, how the heck?
You can't get here.
You can't get here from there. You?
Yeah. We're in the middle of
just wait till you go to Ames, buddy. Just wait till you go to Ames.
Oh boy.
No.
Speaking of coming to Oregon State.
That's a good point.
That sounds like a Northwest Met plug.
Oh,
that was a Northwest.
End of March, if you're in the area, just so happen to be over here in the Pacific Northwest.
Not near an airport.
Not near an airport. If you want to drive from Portland and or Eugene, come on up and or down and come.
Mark,
to
that's a good
Met.
question for people listening right now. And Job raised it. How am I going to get there? What is your recommendation as far as which airport do you target for flying into?
If you're coming from states that are in the southern region of the United States, look for flights into Eugene, possibly. If you're coming from anywhere else, probably going to be Portland. And then from Eugene, we're about 30 minutes or so north. From Portland, we're about an hour and 20 minutes south. Or if you're really adventurous, take the train. If you're in California or Washington, Amtrak.
Yeah, I'll just
right by here
leave
as well.
now.
If you don't have
maybe
any
get there
time
on
constraints of any sort, and you
I'm just going to start
can
walking.
buffer it within 1 to 5 days, you'll be fine.
I'm just going to walk.
Justin, if you start walking now and I take the train now, I give you an odds you still win.
Maybe.
Well, those of us who can work remote could get on the train
Exactly.
and work from the train.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the train on Cinema. It's lovely. But yeah, if you're in that 24th, 26th, 26th of March time when the Northwest Met show is going on, lots going on during that. And it's been great. If you want to have a really good conversation with people that are in this same industry, teaching, learning technology, higher ed technology and the like, it's the place to be. It will be hosted here at Oregon State. Myself and Raul Burrell have been putting this thing together.
Doing it in-house.
We're doing it in-house. It's going to be a good show.
Farming the whole thing out.
We're trying to go bigger this year than we've ever gone. So a lot's happening, a lot of parties, a lot of good conversations, some good sponsors coming in. So if you're around that time, it's right around spring break for a lot of folks. Be here. It's where all the cool kids are going to be.
Oh, you had me until the end there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not big on that.
So.
That's right.
You get cool kids in the AV industry.
We're the coolest.
Well,
Yeah, and I guess, since we're talking about it, free plug for Hetma, who is a platinum, diamond. What's the sponsorship level?
Whatever the
I
most
don't know.
expensive thing is, Joe said,
Yeah,
whatever you
whatever-
want. Just take whatever.
whatever
check.
they build us is
Yeah.
what we paid for. Yes, we are. Do we even have? You know what? We're not even listed on the website.
It's so
Don't
big
get
you
wrong.
can't see it,
We-
Joe. It's massive.
Like,
The
Yeah.
pixels
You
are
are
too
the
big. You
website.
can't see them.
Wow. I mean, we feel the love. That's all I'll say. No, not even listed on the website.
It's
as a
nice. Now
conference
there's
sponsor.
revisions coming here in the short weeks ahead of us. We have some new listings coming. Then we'll have the full program for presentations and full sponsors and all the merch and everything that's going on. So it's
You got merch?
there's all kinds of stuff going on.
NW Met's a wonderful conference. It's great.
Yeah, it's a culture in itself. It's nice. You can have some really good conversations if you have questions about product and people and how they're making it work. It's great. It's not as noisy as some of the big conferences, which is kind of nice. You can actually have really good conversation.
Yeah, I would say for those who have not been there, probably the closest analog is going to be ETC or NAE CCUMC. And it's about the same size, but it has that same level of like direct interaction. The sponsors, the vendors, the manufacturer partners, whatever you want to call them, are basically there on par with the people who are, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, who are simply attending. Everyone's kind of there on the same level. It's not this standoffishness that you kind of get at a big trade show where, yes, I can go see person, ABC at this booth, but then they're doing their own thing and they've got stuff to do and they've got all, at Northwest Met, similar to ETC, you get that, like, it's that one-to-one interaction. It's great.
For those that need that justification to get that travel from their institutions, and maybe you're a CTS holder, we actually have CTS RU credits trainings going on at the show, which has been a first for us this year. So you actually can go and have justification. Say, hey, I need to get a couple RUs. We'll have them for you. Come on down.
You guys are.
I need
And
some, actually.
who doesn't want to go see one half of the pack 2?
Exactly. Come get it. If you want to be in the middle of that
shit in
story
there,
and
man.
experience for historic
That
stakes,
is low,
come on
dude.
down.
That is low.
Yeah, I mean,
Marc,
we are
didn't you say
still
you're going to
conference
keep
champions, so hey.
you're going to keep the name instead of Pac 12? It's now just Pac 1,
we're
2,
not
and then
keeping
you're
just
done.
the name. We're keeping all the money too.
They're trying to. It's in the court
Go
still,
Washington.
right?
Except for basketball, where you guys are going to be playing the girls' league down the street, apparently.
Hey,
with
it's
these tiny under 15
It's
groups
okay.
or whatever.
Those smaller schools, we're going to give them the chance to have some exposure and play some games. That's how it works. It's all it's all farm league. That's what we're doing here.
The dreaded exposure.
Yeah.
So I'm
Can't
paying
you just do that
exposure.
for exposure? Can you just?
It's all
Can you
any,
draw
it's all
me
any
this
of this
thing?
is, isn't it?
I don't know.
All right, well, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about our favorite Christmas gifts. By which, let me explain this for those who I'm springing this on, even though we have talked about it. Though we're springing it on Joe, but he can come up with something. So the idea is, if all the stuff, and let's talk stuff or services or cool software or whatever, all the things we dealt with in 2023, consider that like these were my Christmas presents. Which one did we like the best? What's our favorite Christmas gift in the AV IT world that we got in 2023? And alternatively, if there's nothing you liked, maybe there's that one thing you want to return, like those socks you get from somebody every year.
I like socks.
So I'm going to push this button that gives you like 42 seconds to think about it while we listen to Jamie prattle on, and then we'll come back and talk about that stuff.
As many of you know, the Super Friends have always been better received when we have more input from you. So, here's your chance. Send us a note at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com and get involved with the show. We're looking for some topics to discuss, some fellow nerds to talk to, or just general AV awesomeness to brag about. But remember, we'll probably steal your ideas. And I suppose we'd take some criticism, but that wouldn't be very nice. Anyway, drop us a note at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com and find out how quickly we ask you to join this nonsense.
Okay, everyone got something? Got a favorite gift?
Mm-hmm. Can we have two?
I guess. I
Okay.
don't have rules on it.
All right.
But no.
No?
But no.
No, you're not allowed to.
Larry, you're such a
You
dictator.
pick your favorite.
God.
Something potatoes? What? Let's see. We'll start here. Who's on first? Mark, we'll start with you because you're top of the list.
I'm here. Okay. My favorite thing. I've talked about this in the past. I mean, I'm going to take both sides of this story here, Chris. I'm gonna,
XIO director.
XIO director everywhere. I just use them solely. The thing I really love.
Does. They just talk to each other.
Yeah. I feel still super guilty. I've talked about this on the show before. I'm sending back lots of individual microphones that I used to hang in ceilings, and I'm gone with I just love the Sennheiser TCC2, but I love running it as a big, giant, smart single microphone, not as a Dante input.
Wait, yeah, and
Most expensive analog microphone.
So the analog transport of this thing,
love it
weirdo.
because I don't have to do anything weird up there. It just happens. It's just
weird, what Terminator?
I feel
Cat
so
6?
guilty doing it.
What do you mean
well,
weird?
whatever. No, I don't have to go through elaborate reprogramming DSPs. I can drop them in almost one for one. If I just have 4 or 5 microphones, I can take one of those on an existing analog line, set it up, and it blows people's minds. It's been so awesome, just this year, that it's been my single favorite tool that I've gotten for Christmas and this year, and I put it out there. And I send back single microphones, and I just want this thing now. That's all I want.
I'm guilty. You've been talking about that, and I got in a situation where they didn't run enough data lines, and I got mad, and I'm like, screw it. So I used one data line just for the control and the other one for the analog, and let the mic do its thing. Just let it do its thing.
I just don't move the Dante. I just don't just keep it as a big dumb single microphone, but it's awesome.
Damn it, Mark. You're right. Damn it.
So yeah, I'm sending things back and liking that one, and you're all getting one as a stocking stuffer next year.
Oh, hey.
A TCC2? Great.
It's going to be a big stocking.
Yeah.
Big stocking.
Fit this in your stocking. Let's see. Well, I'll go next since I'm on the list here. So my favorite item, and I've talked about this too for you guys, my favorite item in 2023, and this is legit to the point where I am buying these even when I don't need the interactivity, is an interactive display, believe it or not. So free plug out there for anyone who wants this. Wait for it, Jamie. It's the Promethean, yes, that group, Promethean ActivePanel LX. And here's why. And they will even own up to this. It's a dumb display. There is no operating system. There is no Android. There is no Windows. There is no interface. There is nothing. The menu itself, and I've joked about this in the past, you push that menu button and it looks like baby's first menu from a 1993
Windows
television.
3.1.
It is worse. It is
the
awesome.
on-screen display to the old Sony cams.
Yes, it's that level. It is. It
Can
takes
you run
everything
Doom on
in.
it? Can you install?
No, you can't. There's no system for it. Now, it does have other features. You can drop an OPS slotted device or a PC or whatever in there. There's things for that. The one thing I really don't like is because again, Promethean, their market is K-12, not higher ed, but. Reach out to your Promethean rep. Reach out through CDW or somebody. You can get some awesome prices on these because they're basically K-12 based. Like I said, to the point where these are cheaper than buying a non-interactive display and putting it in. And then I just put a little cover plate over we 3D print a cover that goes over the ports on the front so people don't plug in there. And hey, here's your interactive display you didn't even ask for.
What sizes can you get those bad boys in?
It's like 55 through 86 or something. So. Here's the thing, though. On an 86, which is nice, an 86 on this thing is like $1,500 cheaper than the equivalent, NEC, Sharp, Sony, whatever, Panasonic, straight up normal display. So, interesting. Anyway, so like I said, my favorite thing of 2023 is that for just all the wrong reasons. And to the credit of Promethean, when I talked to them way back in, actually, I think it was at Northwest Met last year, I said, I need a dumb display. And they're like, well, here's the one that's got light. And I'm like, no light, no stuff I can remove, no things I can disable. I want dumb. I want big
dumb
screen with
smart.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Because every one of mine, I plug a computer into, or someone's using their laptop. I don't need the internal stuff. And so it's and even if it costs
really
more,
need you to use this Android thing you have no use for.
Exactly. So, so free plug to those guys for building and exactly what is wanted. My fear every day is they're going to be like, discontinued. Only one guy was buying them. So.
I'll start buying them. I'll try to keep it.
Anyway,
I do like the dumb panels. Anyways,
they're hard to find.
They are.
Honestly. Yeah. So,
Justin. Oh, it's my turn. Okay. Well, this may seem stupid. I'm going to do two. So the first one is not really, both of these are not really a product. The second one sort of is. But the first one, I actually finished my home AV system over break. Yay, Justin.
Your video wall?
Yay, okay.
We can't tell.
I know. Well, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Ironically, you farmed
You
it
need
out.
the GR for that berm.
Yeah. The second one, which is probably even more stupid, but I'm kind of geeking out about, I bought this Streamdeck about 6 months ago, and I
saw pictures of this thing the other day.
And I, we all talked about Streamdeck like 6 months ago, and they're like, oh, it's whatever, and it's kind of like whatever, and y'all got them. I was like, I don't have one.
Jamie, where's yours?
So I bought one.
This is my button panel in the classroom of the future. I've been working on, just FYI.
So I bought one, and I was like, man, this thing's stupid. Like, it's shitty. And I was like, this doesn't help me at all. It doesn't solve any problems for me. And then so I got bored over break. Finished my AV system. I was like, well, now what? So I was like, well, let me see if I can use this with AutoCAD. Found one YouTube video. It's like, holy shit. That has changed my entire approach of what I think of Streamdeck now. This is great. It's like a tutor and a shortcut and all of that all in one. I don't know. It's
using Streamdeck for non-AV
AV systems.
Stuff, yeah.
It's like some sort of rudimentary control system.
Like I have one button to go between model and paper space. You know how hard that shit is? Like I got to move the mouse and click here, and I got to move it back and click there. Now I just got to press a button.
Oh, you sold me. Now I'm going to have to buy the big one.
It's a button. Yeah. We all need more buttons.
You need more buttons.
Got a whole keyboard full.
That wasn't a great Christmas present, but I don't know. It's going to save me some time this coming year. So,
and I believe actually that device is HETMA approved.
Oh, it is?
It is. I love my Stream Deck.
I do now. I hated it before when I first got it.
And by the way, we just had an earthquake here.
Just now?
Did you?
I don't know if you saw me kind of like, yeah.
Wow.
And I just looked up 4.1.
Live. All right.
Jeez.
Wow, live on the show.
Like
and yet your video didn't break up, unlike Justin's, which keeps breaking up. So.
Yeah.
I'm working on the... I need a new computer.
Larry, what's your favorite thing?
Favorite thing, we have a lot of smallish lecture halls, not auditoriums by any means. They're the size that instructors can go in and think they can talk to the class without miking themselves. But the ceilings are high enough that I can't really mic them from the ceiling very well.
You mean those spacer? Can everybody hear me?
Exactly, those. And so, like, we've tried different things, but if you drop choir mics for lecture capture, they're right in front of the screen. It's just like there's not a great solution. And so we tried putting the Shure MXA 310 on the instructor station. It's worked really well for that. And so
threw it on top, like your Yo just sits there.
We mount it to the top so it doesn't spin, so we can control what lobes are where. And it captures enough area for them to walk around, for them to be in front of the class. It's a clean install. I'm
going to have to see the top of your lectern. Are you just mounting it like on the corner of the lectern? Where you put it?
You just drill a hole through, plop it in there.
You got enough room on a lectern to do that. MXA 310, the little
one.
Take a picture on top of a conference room.
Take a picture and text it to me.
Okay. I will do that. So that's like as a tool in the bag, it kind of works pretty well for that. And if I'm sending something back, not that it's a bad product, not that in an ideal world And the Unicore world that Justin and Joe live in, I would still use these.
Hell. You just gotta have. You gotta take control and yell at people, Larry.
You've had your turn.
You just gotta yell at them.
I live in a zero trust network architecture, and in doing so, the
really
net controlled PDUs don't add as much value as they used to. And so I still have them. I even am tying them in on the control system side of the network, but I'm not paying to have another network drop RIN.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
To monitor the power on those devices anymore. And so I had them in stock. They were part of my standard equipment package forever, and they're not being deployed through the cloud structure that they used to be. It just doesn't work for us.
Oh, you were using who was that? Middle Atlantic or
that's because the whole IoT
box?
and the security thing, you're not going to be able to roll that stuff out.
Yeah,
so I would say
that's coming soon. Just
maybe also kind of on along the lines of a dumb one. Atlas IED of all people makes a line of those that are, let's just say they're dumb. You can put an IP address or a host name in and connect to it. It don't do much more than that, but it still does give you that remote access to reboot stuff. It doesn't give you all the monitoring features. It doesn't give you like the tie into like a console. It doesn't give you like automated, sequencing or any of that. But it's like, if I just want to remote in and tell port 3 to shut off, I can do that. So,
and with our pretty much ban on distributed network switches, I'd have to pull a separate network cable for that. And it's
That's
not worth
crap.
it. Like the value isn't there for it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Jamie, Christmas stuff.
Yeah. I look at Christmas a lot like, what's that like one-off? Oh. What's that one-off gift that you would never get any other time, but it's really kind of cool and you want one? And for me, like this year, it was the updated Mystery Electronics fader pack that they put out. Yeah, they have the old one, which I really enjoyed, but I've got one of the new ones this past year, and it integrates with most of the major DSP manufacturers, and it gives you for those folks, House of Worship, Conservatory of Music, where they want knobs and faders to control all of their audio sound system, but you, by God, are not giving them the DSP file. It's perfect. And it has just about every little... it takes a little while to set up, but you can do whatever you want with it. And it can be as complicated or as simple as you want. And I would only buy one or two. I have very specific places, but the one I got, I'm like, I want one. I'm never going to get one because I have no use for it, right? But it was a really cool and fun Christmas Santa-like thing, right? Nobody needs a radio-controlled car, but when you get one, by God, it's kind of fun. And
so
this was that kind of thing. It's a bank of faders. Oh, and they're motorized? So and it all
is it AVB or Dante or what are they?
No, it's just a network connection straight back to your DSP. Yeah. Okay. It's just a control interface.
Well, no, but they have a line of them that are AVB for the control side because it's able to pull the information from the DSP. So I'm just curious, is it using the same?
It's just a network box that connects directly to the thing. You just put in the instance ID or the whatever QSC's thing is. But anyway,
sounds like Zero Trust would love that thing.
They would hate it, but it's fun.
Step 192.
Most things that they hate are fun.
I'll tell you, I have two things this past year that really pissed me off, and I
see your second one, and I'm going to back you up on that one.
So that one's just going to make me angry. I've been looking for a new little small button control because I've been putting in more QSC devices, and I just want like a small 8-button thing. Well, I bought the one from Atlona.
I like Kramer's, by the way.
Everything about it was perfect to me because it had an API. I could control the lights. I could control the buttons. I didn't have to have Atlona's Velocity anything. I just get the button panel. It doesn't even pull a DHCP correctly. It made me so angry. I put it back in the box.
It's Zero Trust enabled.
I gave them some of the I like their OmniStream stuff. I like some of their other things, but this one just pissed me off, and I wanted to send it back. The other one is QSC is on my naughty list forever. If they don't knock off this stupid, insane licensing practice that they get into.
License for that. We'll bill you for it.
Do you want
a license to complain about that? If you're going to put them on the naughty list, you need a license for it.
Oh, you wanted a license to like put the power plug in.
Yeah,
I yell at them all the time. I know them, and I yell at them. And
I was going to say,
know
for
it's
those
the way the
QSYS who
world
are
is.
listening, and there are multiple people from QSYS who listen to this because they reach out to me all the time. Seriously, there are issues with your licensing structure. So cool
and
it.
Just for end users trying to get a license, you can't just get it. You can't maintain them very well. It's just the whole damn thing's broken.
If you're going to do something as complicated as what they do, put it on like a Amazon type store. You can just buy it and check out.
So yeah,
like,
and to that point,
something.
I have. Yeah, to that point, that is one of the things that I know is in the process is the portal where you can see your current licenses. You're able to manipulate them and stuff, but you can just add them right there, sort of thing. So I believe that is still the plan, is to move that away from them.
But it still doesn't take the bad taste out of my mouth. What you're talking about?
Look, I like the product. I like the people, but that's pissing me off, man.
I like the product. I got a QSYS core in my house, sort of. Doing something. I don't know what it's doing. It's doing shit.
Running all the toilets.
Yeah, it's running.
Joe Pham is a UCLA grad, so I don't think I'm allowed to say anything contractually about negative about.
I don't think it's negative. I think it's honest feedback to say.
I'm not disparaging them. I'm just saying this one practice I don't appreciate.
It makes it difficult to modify some of these things, and they're not the only AV and IT manufacturer who does that sort of thing, tying a specific license to a piece of hardware and causing this. It's just it's clunky. If you're going to have that, you have to have the structure in place on how to manage that stuff, and they don't. It's all like, I got to call them and do this, and I got to get one of these, and I got to change that. It's a
random key generator they have to run.
Oh, here's the other treat. Because you have multiple options for licenses, it will generate that hashed key for that, including all you've got this option and this option and this option. That's fine, but it's one key. And if you ever need to change anything, you have to get a new key for it. It's a golly.
There went that sponsor opportunity. Okay.
And we lost that money.
Yep.
On the other hand, their hardware is awesome. So
I love QSC.
No, now
QSC.
Joe, he's out there just fishing off our show now.
We don't hate QSC.
I'm sorry that you guys dislike it so much, but the Hired AV podcast loves QSC.
We just don't like this thing that they do.
That said, I keep buying them.
You're doing
still buying it.
Yeah, they're still getting our money. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, shit. Like, I mean, they're still like.
I'm still writing checks.
Yeah, it's like we don't like it.
It just makes me angry. It's like a car payment. They get my car payment and it pisses me off, but I drive the car.
All right, Joe, what's your favorite or least favorite Christmassy gift from the AV world last year?
I'm going to give you two, and one was I'm going to one. Well, if I'm on the show, I'm going to take advantage. One was actually a gift, and it is the Bose S1, just the all-in-one speaker. It's got Bluetooth on it. It's for the backyard and the boat. Everyone knows I've got my boat and put mesh Wi-Fi on my boat that goes all the way out and into my house, and I can take the speaker and I can run the line out and into my Dante system in my house, and then I can stream to my boat from my home system, and I love it. And then it gives audio out with my Sonant system in the backyard, and it's perfect.
Oh,
and that was actually a gift.
I was thinking a little bitty thing.
No, it's about 16 inches, 16 high, and about and
it can move some air. Yeah, it's all about sound.
It comes with it actually is really good sound. It has the Bluetooth. It also comes with two wireless adapter thingies. So when you have a microphone, take any your SM58,
that sounds dangerous thingies,
and you've got it, and you plug it into a low guitar. So if we're doing a little band out by the lake, go for it while we're gotten something smoking on the Traeger. So it was a gift, and it was fantastic, and I love it, and it is a great little portable thingy to take around. It's well worth it. There you go, and it's cheap. I mean, I didn't pay for it because it was a gift, but it's only like $600.
Does it run on battery too?
Yeah, it might, but I've never used it on battery.
I'm just wondering, can I carry this around like a boombox with a microphone just plugged into it, and I can walk around and talk to people?
Hell yeah,
yes,
so they hear me.
Drop it on their desk. Hey, I want to talk.
Yeah.
This is our new hearing assistant system.
Yeah.
Classroom.
It's an 8-inch woofer right in your face.
Yeah. Next time you go to that all division IT meeting, you just take that to the conference room, put it on the table, and you're just like, I'm Mike. I don't know about you guys.
Excuse me, I have a question. It says 11-hour battery life.
Yeah.
I've never used it, but that's perfect. There you go.
There's your new challenge. How can you use this wirelessly?
There we go. Now I'm going to have to go do it. So that was it. And then my second will be an actual AV item that I discovered this year, and that's the Symetrix. I'm assuming that's how they pronounce it. The XLR wall input into Dante. I love it, and it's programmable, and you can use the lights to either show that it's active or not active, or push button on it to mute them from the thing. So now that I have live events under me in my new role, and we have to redo some of our old ballrooms that were just done analog, and I want to get them onto Dante. I just swapped the faceplate out, put that run network to it. It's fantastic. And I've got it on, on my Dante domain manager. I think it's a great device, and it was a pleasant surprise that I didn't know about.
Those Dante widgets.
I've never seen one of these.
Are you gonna see this thing?
No, I haven't seen this.
I love Dante widgets.
It's a really cool device.
Symetrix, RDL. A lot of people make some really cool Dante widgets out there.
I just haven't seen.
Marc hates Dante widgets.
I haven't seen this one, and it doesn't require Symetrix, right? It's agnostic. You can plug it in and use it with whomever.
And it's Dante, yeah. So it goes right, and it's the XIO XLR series. It's great, and they have a Bluetooth one too. So if you, and which is like if you have a sports, if you're doing, a changing room or something like that in the basketball, that type of whatever. But I love it. And I love the fact that it's got the lights, and you can have the lights do what you want. It's configurable as an, either input, output. There's a 2-gang and a 4. Yeah,
I was just looking because I have a project where I need a 1-gang that has 1 in, 1 out, and
it's hard to find the 1-gangs. The 2-gangs are everywhere.
Yeah, the one they do make it, and I tell you, it was a great little surprise that I was, it was one of those, and I can tell you, it was Todd from the company reached out to me and said, "Hey, I just want to show you," and I was like, okay, and it was like weird because I'm like, all right, I've got nothing to do today. I would have normally said no,
I've got nothing
right? You know what I
today.
mean? Like, hey, I'm too bad, but it was just like, it was so random that I thought, yeah, why not? And when he handed it to me, I went, "This is the coolest thing that I've seen."
It's always a good thing that's come around. You weren't expecting them; they just kind of drop on you. You're like, "Oh, this thing's sweet."
Yep. And then I'm like, and I literally had just gotten like 2 days earlier out of a meeting trying to figure out, I want to turn these, and I got to get these analogs out, and I got to get them to how am I going to do it? And literally he shows up at the door with, it's like as if it's like the world listens to us, And there you go.
Weird.
So I give that one, and that is a great little device for you. And I also think too, like if I think of like Frank Alimo at UNLV, and all of his lecterns, he puts an XLR right in his little. And I always thought that was weird. And I would, but I'm sitting there going, you know what? You could throw that if you've got an extra network jack somewhere in a room, and you throw the 1 in, 1 out. You know what? That gives me a lot of extra, And I think back to when I was at Cal Baptist, right? You could have a student group meeting at night, right? That might have a little worship set, right? A little guitar. Now I could have someone without having to bring a mixing board in, and they could use the classroom. So I don't know. I start thinking of the different opportunities for it. So they just got a free commercial. There we go.
There we go. So now we need to go after Symetrix sponsorship and not QSC is what I'm hearing.
Well, we lost one. Maybe we gained one today. So
it's a net.
Either that Joe got 2, and we're still broke. One of the 2.
I think that's more the case.
Yeah.
Well, let me give another free plug because, like I said, I was digging into this. I needed a 1 by 1, and I could only find either all the 1-gang ones were 2 in or 2 out. That was the thing. So this is cool. That's there. So my fallback was it was an Extron XLR plate, and it has 2 channels in, 2 channels out, but the input or output, I can't remember. The input is on the back side for like a local device. It's a weird thing, but they sell it as a kit with an analog, the analog companion next to it, complete with a little tiny cable and all that stuff. Is a perfect little kit you can get to just do that exactly. I'm great. They clearly saw a hole in their product line, and they had the right parts, and like, we'll make this other thing and put it in the box, and now it's a kit which has all your connections. So I thought that was clever of them to do that. So kudos to them for thinking of that, because Joe, like you're saying, you never know. And that analog input and output, especially audio, is still important for a lot of what we do. And it's an easy thing to add. It gives you a huge amount of flexibility, because otherwise you're back there behind the rack trying to tap off of the assisted listening system for program audio, or trying to climb under and find an extra
Phoenix
input.
blocks.
You're stacking Phoenix. Oh my God, do not stack inputs. But yes, we've all done it.
Why? What's wrong with that?
You all have done it. Come
What's
on
wrong
now.
with that?
What's wrong? Oh, you're doing it in the house, are we?
Doing it
Justin?
in the house. I just put 4 ins on.
I just
one
make
input.
sure I light up Phantom on that guy. We're good.
Just split the voltage. Should be all right.
It's like the magic of taking two unbalanced and just stacking them together and somehow making a balanced
Good
one.
luck
'Cause
with
that's
gain
how audio
structure.
works.
Hey, it's worked for 50 years. It's okay.
It introduces
Why does
an
it sound
easy-
weird in here? All right. Well, I think we've ruined it. We've gone way off the rails on this and way long. Thanks again to Joe for being here. Joe, anything you want to plug before I start talking over top of us?
I will plug NW Met again. No, yeah, you know what? I will plug. Everyone, go to Hetman. I don't know when this is actually airing. We are going to be doing some ISC coverage and stuff like that. Did I
keep
speak
going.
too long?
No, I keep
speak
going.
too long.
We'll fix it.
Yeah, fix it in post.
Keep plugging.
That's it. I'm done. Yeah, go to Hetma. Go to Hired AV. We're going to cover ISC stuff, and that's it. I don't know. What else should I plug? Should I plug AV Super Friends on topic at hiredav.com once a month, sometimes on time, and sometimes not.
Usually on time. Sometimes it's twice a month.
Yeah, but but I'm not saying it's you guys.
Mostly on time.
I also don't post it. Mostly on time.
Well, to be
That's our
fair,
new show, mostly on time.
we try to schedule that for like the first of the month, and ironically, that seems to line up most with when there's holiday and stuff. So it's more difficult to do that. But.
Well,
All right. Well, we'll get out of here, and we'll throw all sorts of links in the description, and we'll go from there. So, whoops, I'll click that again. There you go. Thanks, everybody. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.